Let me tell you something that might sting a little. If you're not tracking your business expenses, you're not running your business, you're gambling with it. You might think you've got a handle on where your money is going. You might even tell yourself, I'm good at keeping it all in my head. But here's the truth. If you're not writing it down, if you're not tracking every dollar, you're flying blind. And let me tell you, flying blind in business isn't just risky. It's dangerous because sooner or later, you'll hit turbulence. You'll run into unexpected expenses, a slow sales month, or a sudden shift in your industry.
And when that happens, if you don't know your numbers, you're going to find yourself in a world of hurt.
Here's the reality. Most businesses don't fail because they didn't have a great product or a solid idea. They fail because they didn't manage their money. And you can't manage what you don't measure. And if you're not tracking your expenses, you have no idea where your money is going. You might be bleeding cash in places you didn't even realize. Subscriptions you forgot to cancel. Marketing campaigns that aren't bringing in results. Unnecessary inventory that's just sitting there collecting dust. It all adds up. And before you know it, you're looking at your bank account wondering, where did it all go? That's not leadership. That's chaos.
But here's the good news. This is a problem you can fix. And it starts with a simple but powerful decision to take control of your money, to stop guessing and start knowing. To stop guessing and start knowing. To stop hoping for the best and start planning for it.
Expense tracking isn't just about numbers. It's about clarity. It's about understanding your business on a deeper level. It's about having the information you need to make smart, strategic decisions instead of reactive, emotional ones. Because when you know your numbers, you're not just running a business, you're leading it.
Let me give you an example. Imagine you're running a restaurant. Every day, you're buying ingredients, paying staff, and covering rent. Now, let's say you're not tracking your expenses.
You're just keeping an eye on your bank balance and hoping it all works out. Then one day you realize you're running low on cash. You start panicking. You think maybe I need to cut back on staff hours, or maybe I need to cut back on staff hours, or maybe I'm spending too much on food. But you don't know for sure because you haven't been tracking. So now you're guessing, and every guess feels like a gamble. But what if instead you had been tracking your expenses all along?
What if you could pull up a report and see exactly how much you're spending on each category? Suddenly the picture becomes clear. Maybe it's not the staff or the food. It's that you've been overpaying for utilities.
Or maybe you realize you're wasting money on premium ingredients for dishes that don't sell.
Now, instead of guessing, you can take action. That's the power of expense tracking.
And it's not just about avoiding problems. It's about finding opportunities. When you're tracking your expenses, you can spot patterns and trends. You can see what's working and what's not. You can find areas where you're overspending and redirect those dollars into something that actually drives growth. It's like turning on the lights in a dark room. Suddenly you can see clearly and you know exactly where to go next.
Now, I know what some of you are thinking. But Dave, I'm too busy running my business to track every little expense. Let me stop you right there. You're not too busy. You're just not making it a priority.
And if you think you don't have time to track your expenses, wait until you're trying to clean up the mess from not tracking them. Trust me, spending a few minutes a day updating your expense tracker is a lot easier than spending hours or even days trying to figure out why you're broke. The truth is, if you're serious about your business, you'll make the time.
Because tracking your expenses isn't just a task, it's a discipline. And discipline is what separates successful businesses from the ones that struggle to survive.
So here's my challenge to you. Start tracking your expenses today.
Not tomorrow, not next week. Today. It doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be complicated. You can use a spreadsheet, an app, or even a notebook if that's what works for you.
The tool doesn't matter as much as the habit. Start by writing down every expense, big or small, fixed or variable. Then categorize them. Where's your money going? What's essential and what's not?
Once you got the data, start using it. Look for patterns. Identify waste. Make changes. And most importantly, stay consistent, because tracking your expenses isn't a one-time thing. It's a habit that will protect your business for the long haul. Remember this: expense tracking isn't about perfection. It's about progress. It's not about shaming yourself for past mistakes. It's about empowering yourself to make better choices going forward. And when you commit to tracking your expenses, you're not just taking control of your money, you're taking control of your future. So what are you waiting for? Let's get to work. Let's get real. Tracking expenses isn't just about writing numbers down. It's about having the right tool for the job. Imagine trying to build a house with nothing but a hammer. Sure, you could make some progress, but eventually you're going to hit a wall. That's exactly what happens when you try to manage your business expenses without the right system in place. You need a tool that works for you, tool that's simple, clear, and effective.
And trust me, when you find the right expense tracking tool, it's like flipping a switch. Suddenly, the chaos of running a business starts to make sense. You can see where your money is going, where it's coming from, and most importantly, what you need to do to stay in control.
So what makes a great expense tracking tool? First, it has to be easy to use. If it's complicated, clunky, or time consuming, you're not going to stick with it. And let me tell you, consistency is the name of the game. It doesn't matter how fancy your tool is if you're not using it every single day. That's why the best tools are the ones that fit seamlessly into your routine. Maybe it's a simple spreadsheet where you log your expenses manually. Maybe it's an app that syncs with your bank account and automatically categorizes your spending. Whatever it is, make sure it's something you'll actually use, because an unused tool is just another waste of money, and we're not about wasting money.
Next, a great expense tracking tool has to be clear and transparent. You need to be able to see your numbers at a glance. No guessing, no dissing, no digging through layers of reports. You should know exactly how much you've spent, what you've spent it on, and how it compares to your budget. And here's the kicker: it should be up to date. Outdated data is useless data. If you're making decisions based on last month's numbers, you're already behind. The best tools update in real time, giving you a clear picture of your finances whenever you need it. And trust me, you're going to need it, because running a business without up-to-date expense data is like driving a car without a speedometer. You're just hoping you don't crash. Now, let's talk about flexibility. No two businesses are the same, and your expense tracking tool should reflect that. Maybe you're a solopreneur with a handful of categories to track, or maybe you're managing a team with dozens of different expenses to keep an eye on. Either way, your tool should adapt to your needs, not the other way around. Look for a tool that allows you to customize categories, set budgets, and generate reports that actually make sense for your business. Because let's be honest, tracking your expenses isn't just about knowing where your money went. It's about using that information to make smarter decisions. And the more tailored your tool is to your business, the easier it will be to turn data into action.
But here's the thing: a great tool doesn't have to be expensive. You don't need to break the bank to track your expenses effectively. There are plenty of options out there, from free spreadsheets to affordable apps like QuickBooks, Wave, or even Google Sheets. The key is to find something that works for your budget and your workflow. Remember, the tool is just the beginning. It's the habit of tracking that makes the real difference. A $10 app used consistently is 1,000 times better than a $500 software package that gathers data.
Let me share a story. I once worked with a small business owner who was struggling to keep up with his expenses. He had no system, no budget, and no idea where his money was going. He felt overwhelmed, like he was drowning in a sea of receipts and invoices. But then he started using a simple expense tracking app. It wasn't anything fancy, just an app that let him log his expenses, categorize them, and see his totals in real time, And you know what happened? Within a few months, his entire business changed. He started spotting patterns he'd never noticed before, like how much he was overspending on marketing or how little he was investing in customer retention. With that information, he was able to make strategic changes, cut unnecessary costs, and reinvest in areas that actually drove growth. And it all started with one simple tool.
That's what I want for you.
I want you to find a tool that makes tracking your expenses easy, clear, and actionable. Because when you have the right tool, you're not just managing your money, you're mastering it. You're taking control of your business, $1 at a time. And let me tell you, there's no better feeling than knowing exactly where you stand financially. It's empowering, it's liberating,
and it's the first step toward building a business that doesn't just survive but thrives. So here's my challenge. Pick your tool today. Don't overthink it. Don't wait for the perfect system. Just choose something simple and start using it. Whether it's a spreadsheet, an app, or a notebook, commit to tracking every expense starting right now.
Because the tool is just a means to an end. The real power lies in the habit of tracking, and that starts with you. Let's get to work. Let me hit you with a truth bomb. Not all expenses are created equal. Some are necessary, some are optional, and some are just flat out wasteful. If you want to get serious about managing your business finances, you got to stop treating all your expenses like they're on equal footing.
You've got to dig in, categorize them, and understand exactly where your money is going. Because until you do, you're just guessing. And let me tell you, guessing is not a strategy.
Guessing is how businesses end up broke, wondering why there's too much month left at the end of their money. Here's the deal. Every expense in your business tells a story. It's either helping you grow, keeping the lights on, or holding you back. Your job is to figure out which is which, and that starts with categorizing your costs. Think of this as sorting through the junk drawer in your kitchen. You've got the essentials, the stuff you use every day and can't live without. You've got the extras, the things that are nice to have but not critical. And then you've got the clutter, the stuff that's just taking up space and needs to go. That's exactly how you need to think about your business expenses. First, let's talk about the essentials. These are your fixed costs, the things you absolutely need to keep your business running. Think rent, utilities, payroll, insurance, and equipment. These expenses are predictable, consistent, and necessary. But here's the catch. Just because they're essential doesn't mean they're untouchable. Have you shopped around for better rates on your insurance?
Have you negotiated your lease or looked for ways to cut energy costs? Even your fixed costs have room for improvement if you're willing to do the work. Don't just accept them as they are, challenge them. Because every dollar you save on essentials is a dollar you can put back into your business. Next, we've got variable costs, the expenses that fluctuate depending on your business activity. These include things like materials, shipping, marketing, and travel. Variable costs are tricky because they can sneak up on you if you're not paying attention. One busy month, and suddenly your expenses are through the roof. That's why it's so important to track them closely and set limits. For example, if you're running a marketing campaign, set a clear budget and stick to it. Don't just throw money at the problem and hope for results. Measure your return on investment. If it's not working, cut it and try something else. Variable costs are where you have the most control, but only if you're willing to stay disciplined. And then there's the stuff no one likes to talk about, wasteful spending. These are the expenses that don't add value to your business. They're the subscriptions you forgot to cancel, the tools you're not using, the meals and entertainment that don't generate any return. They're the silent killers of your budget, draining your resources one small charge at a time. The problem is most business owners don't even realize how much they're wasting because they're not paying attention. That's why categorizing your costs is so powerful. It forces you to confront the truth. And when you see those wasteful expenses in black and white, it's a wake-up call. You realize how much money you've been throwing away, and you can finally do something about it. But categorizing your costs isn't just about cutting. It's about clarity. When you know exactly where your money is going, you can start making smarter decisions. You can see which areas are driving growth and which ones need to be reined in.
You can prioritize the expenses that matter most and eliminate the ones that don't. And most importantly, you can take control. Because let me tell you, there's nothing more empowering than knowing your numbers.
It gives you confidence, it gives you direction, and it gives you the tools you need to lead your business with purpose.
So, how do you get started? It's simple. Take a deep dive into your expenses and sort them into 3 categories: fixed, variable, and wasteful. Look at every line item in your budget and ask yourself 3 questions. Is this necessary? Is this efficient? Is this bringing me a return? If the answer is no, it's time to make a change.
Yeah.
Negotiate better rates, cut what's not working, and focus on what's truly driving your business forward. And don't just do this once. Make it a habit. Review your expenses regularly, adjust your categories as needed, and stay vigilant. Stay vigilant because your expenses will only stay under control if you stay on top of them. Let me leave you with this. Your business is too important to let wasteful spending drag it down. Every dollar in your business has a job. It's either working for you or working against you. The question is, which is it? By categorizing your costs and taking control of your expenses, you're not just managing your money, you're maximizing it. You're maximizing it. You're building a business that's lean, efficient, and ready to thrive. And trust me, when you start seeing the results of that discipline, it's a game changer. Let's get to work.
Let me tell you something you already know deep down. Success in business isn't about one big breakthrough. It's about the little things you do every single day. It's about consistency, discipline, habits. And when it comes to managing your finances, there's one habit that will set you apart from most business owners: tracking your expenses consistently, not just when you feel like it.
Not just when things are tight, every single day. Because here's the truth. If you're not consistent with tracking your expenses, you're leaving your business vulnerable. And no matter how hard you work or how much revenue you bring in, a lack of discipline will always hold you back. Here's why consistency matters so much. Every day your business is moving, money is coming in, money is going out, decisions are being made. If you're not tracking those movements regularly, you're operating on outdated information. And outdated information leads to bad decisions. Imagine trying to steer a car with a 5-second delay on the steering wheel. You're going to crash, right? That's exactly what happens when you don't track your expenses consistently. By the time you realize there's a problem, it's too late to fix it. You're already in trouble. Consistency isn't just a good habit. It's your safety net. It's what keeps you informed, prepared, and in control.
But let's be honest. Building a habit like this takes effort. It's not glamorous. It's not exciting. It's not something you're going to post about on Instagram. It's work. And most people avoid it because it feels tedious. But let me ask you this. What's harder? Spending 5 minutes a day tracking your expenses, or spending hours or even days digging through receipts and bank statements trying to figure out why your finances are a mess? What's harder? Staying on top of your numbers every week, or having to explain to your team why there's no money for payroll this month? The choice is yours. Discipline now or regret later.
You pick. Here's the good news. Consistency doesn't mean perfection. You don't have to get it right every time. You don't have to have the most advanced system or the most detailed reports. You just have to show up every day, every week. Whatever rhythm works for you, just show up. Start by setting aside a specific time to track your expenses. Maybe it's the first thing you do in the morning. Maybe it's the last thing you do before closing up shop. The when doesn't matter as much as the habit. Make it a non-negotiable part of your routine, just like checking your email or locking the doors. And don't let yourself off the hook. If you miss a day, get back on track the next. Because once you let it slide, it's all too easy to fall into chaos. Consistency is what keeps you grounded.
And here's a pro tip. Automate as much as you can. The more streamlined your process, the easier it is to stay consistent. Use tools that sync with your bank account or credit card, categorize expenses automatically, and generate reports with a few clicks.
Set up reminders so you never forget to log your expenses. The goal isn't to make tracking a chore. It's to make it a habit that's as effortless as possible, because the easier it is to track, the more likely you are to stick with it.
Now, let's talk about the payoff. When you commit to tracking your expenses consistently, something amazing happens. You start to see the patterns. You start to notice where your money is going, where it's being wasted, and where it could be better used.
Suddenly, you're not just reacting to financial problems, you're preventing them. You're catching the leaks in your budget before they sink your ship. You're making decisions based on real data, not gut feelings. And let me tell you, that kind of clarity is a game changer. It's the difference between running a business that's always scrambling to catch up and running one that's always a step ahead. But the benefits don't stop there. Consistent expense tracking builds trust. Trust with your team, your partners, and even yourself. When you know your numbers, you're confident. You can answer questions, make decisions, and plan for the future without hesitation. And that confidence is contagious. It inspires your team to follow your lead. It reassures your investors and lenders. And it gives you the peace of mind to focus on what really matters, growing your business and serving your customers. So here's my challenge to you. Make expense tracking a daily habit. Not next week, not when things slow down. Today, start small if you have to. Pick one tool, set one reminder, and commit to logging every expense for the next 7 days. Then do it for another 7 and another. Before you know it, it'll be second nature. It won't feel like a chore. It'll feel like control. And let me tell you, there's nothing more empowering than knowing you're in control of your business finances. That's how you win. That's how you lead. And that's how you build something that lasts.
Let's face it, numbers are only powerful if you use them. If you're tracking expenses just to have pretty charts and detailed spreadsheets, you're missing the point. Expense tracking isn't about collecting data for the sake of it. It's about transformation.
It's about turning cold, hard numbers into clear, actionable decisions that move your business forward. Because here's the truth. Your data is a treasure map. It shows you where the opportunities are, where the problems are, and how to get where you want to go. The question is, are you using it or are you just letting it sit there? Here's how it works. Every expense you track is a clue. It's telling you something about your business. Are your marketing campaigns delivering a return, or are you throwing money at ads that don't convert? Is your team operating efficiently, or are there bottlenecks driving up costs? Are you investing in the areas that fuel growth, or are you bleeding cash on things that don't matter?
When you track your expenses consistently, those answers aren't guesses, they're facts. And those facts give you the power to make smarter, sharper decisions.
But let me be clear. Data alone won't change your business. It's what you do with it that matters. And that starts with analysis. Look at your expense data and ask yourself the tough question.
Where are you spending the most? Are those expenses aligned with your goals? Are they driving the results you need? Break your costs down by category, marketing, operations, payroll, inventory, and dig into the detail.
Don't just glance at the totals. Look for patterns. Look for trends. Look for the areas where your spending is out of sync with your strategy, because those areas are where the magic happens. That's where you find the opportunities to cut waste, optimize processes, and redirect resources toward growth. Let me give you an example. I worked with a small business owner who was struggling to make ends meet. He was bringing in solid revenue, but his profits were razor thin, and he couldn't figure out why. So we pulled up his expense data. It didn't take long to spot the problem. He was spending a fortune on overnight shipping fees for his inventory.
Why? because he wasn't planning ahead. And every time he ran out of stock, he had to rush, hoarder more.
It was a simple fix. He started tracking his inventory levels more closely, placing larger orders less frequently, and saving thousands of dollars a month.
That's the power of using your data.
It's not about cutting costs for the sake of it. It's about solving problems and creating efficiency.
But it's not just about cutting costs. Your data also shows you where to invest. When you see which areas of your business are driving the highest returns, you can double down on what's working. Maybe your social media ads are bringing in new customers like crazy, but your print campaigns aren't performing. Cut the print budget and reinvest in digital. Maybe your new hire in customer service has improved retention rates, but you're still losing customers because your website is outdated.
Redirect your funds toward a site redesign. Your data isn't just a report. It's a guide. It's showing you where to go next, where to focus your energy, and how to grow your business in a way that's smart and sustainable. And here's the thing. Using your data doesn't just improve your business. It empowers you as a leader. When you know your numbers, you're confident. You're not guessing. You're not winging it.
You're making decisions based on facts, not fear. And that confidence is contagious. It inspires your team. It builds trust with your investors and partners. And it gives you the peace of mind to take calculated risks instead of flying by the seat of your pants.
That's what leadership looks like. And it starts with mastering your numbers.
So what's stopping you? What's holding you back from using your expense data to drive your strategy? Maybe it's fear of what you might find if you dig too deep. Maybe it's overwhelm. The sheer amount of data feels like too much to handle.
Or maybe it's complacency. You're comfortable with the way things are, even if you know they could be better.
Whatever it is, it's time to push past it. Your business deserves better. You deserve better.
Here's my challenge to you. Don't let your data go to waste. Start using it today. Pull up your expense tracker, break down your costs, and start asking the hard questions. Where can you cut?
Where can you optimize? Where should you invest more? And then take action, because knowing your numbers is just the first step. It's what you do with them that counts.
Remember,
your data is a tool.
It's not the answer. It's the starting point. The real power lies in how you use it to shape your business, your decisions, and your future. Let me ask you a question. What happens when your business starts to grow? What happens when the orders roll in faster, the team gets bigger, and the opportunities come knocking? Growth is exciting. It's what every entrepreneur dreams of. But here's the catch. Growth without control is chaos. If you're not prepared, if you don't have systems in place to handle it, growth can be the very thing that takes your business down.
That's why expense tracking isn't just a tool for survival. It's a tool for scaling. It's what gives you the confidence to grow without losing control. It's what ensures that every step forward is built on a solid foundation, not a house of cards.
Here's the deal. As your business grows, so do your expenses. Payroll, inventory, marketing, operations, they all scale up, and they can quickly spiral out of control if you're not careful. This is where a robust expense tracking system becomes your best friend. It's not just about knowing your numbers. It's about having real-time visibility into your finances so you can make decisions with clarity. When you're scaling, every decision matters. Do you hire that new team member now or wait another quarter? Do you expand into a larger office or stick with your current space? Do you invest in new technology or hold off until your revenue stabilizes? These aren't decisions you can make on instinct alone. You need data. You need facts. And that's exactly what expense tracking provides. But here's the thing. Your tracking system needs to grow with you. What worked when you were a one-person operation or a small team might not cut it as your business expands. You need to Upgrade your tools, refine your categories, and add new layers of detail to reflect the complexity of a growing business. Maybe it's time to move from a simple spreadsheet to a more sophisticated platform like QuickBooks or Xero. Maybe you need to integrate your expense tracking with other systems like payroll or inventory management. The goal is to create a seamless flow of information. So you're always working with the most accurate up-to-date data. Scaling isn't just about doing more. It's about doing it smarter. And let's talk about the mindset shift that comes with growth. When you're just starting out, it's easy to focus on the day. Today, making payroll, paying bills, and keeping the lights on. But as you scale, you have to think bigger. You have to shift from survival mode to strategic mode. Expense tracking becomes less about watching every penny and more about identifying trends, planning for the future, and allocating resources in a way that drives sustainable growth. It's about using your data to answer the big questions. Where is my business headed? What's working? What needs to change? And how do I make sure that growth doesn't just look good on paper, but actually translates into long-term success? But here's the hard truth. Growth will test you. It will expose every weakness in your systems, your processes, and your financial habits. If you've been sloppy with your tracking, if you've been ignoring the little leaks in your budget, those cracks will only get bigger as you scale. That's why it's so important to lay the groundwork now. Build the habits, refine the systems, and get your finances in order before growth takes off. Because once you're in the thick of it, once the pressure is on, you won't have time to stop and fix what's broken. The businesses that scale successfully aren't the ones that grow the fastest. They're the ones that grow the smartest. And smart growth starts with a solid grip on your expenses. Let me share a story. I worked with a business owner who was experiencing rapid growth. Sales were up, customers were pouring in, and everything looked great on the surface. But behind the scenes, it was chaos. He hadn't updated his tracking system in years. His expenses were a mess. His team was overwhelmed, and his cash flow was tighter than it should have been. He was on the brink of burnout. But instead of throwing more money at the problem, we went back to basics. We rebuilt his tracking system from the ground up. We streamlined his categories, automated his processes, and gave him real-time visibility into his finances. And you know what happened? The chaos started to fade. He wasn't just reacting anymore. He was leading. He made smarter decisions, avoided unnecessary risks, and scaled his business without losing control. That's the power of tracking done, right? So here's my challenge to you. Don't wait for growth to overwhelm you. Start preparing now. Upgrade your tools, refine your systems, and make expense tracking a non-negotiable part of your business. Treat it like the growth engine it is. Because when you track your expenses consistently and use that data to drive strategy, you're not just growing, you're scaling with confidence. You're building a business that's not only bigger, but better. And when the opportunities come, and they will, you'll be ready. You'll know your numbers. You'll know your numbers. You'll know your limits. And you'll know exactly how to move forward without losing your footing. Growth is exciting, but it's also challenging. It requires discipline, clarity, and a willingness to adapt. But with the right systems in place and a commitment to tracking every dollar, you can scale your business in a way that's not just successful, but sustainable. This is your moment. Don't let chaos steal it from you. Let's get to work.